Christmas morning came to the high plains wrapped in a pale gold silence, the kind that only fell over Elias Crow's ranch once a year. When the frost glazed the fences and the wind slowed as if even it respected the holiday, Elias stood at the wide kitchen window of the main house, a mug of coffee growing cold in his hands, staring out over land he owned but no longer felt belonged to him. Acres upon acres of snow-dusted pasture stretched beyond the glass, immaculate and empty, just like the house behind him. The decorations were there, tasteful, expensive, professionally arranged garlands along the staircase, a towering tree trimmed in red and gold, but none of it felt alive. Nothing ever did anymore. Elias Crow was known across 3 counties as the richest rancher in the region, a man who rebuilt an empire, from dust after his wife died giving birth to twins who never lived, a man who bought silence and control with money, because it was easier than facing grief. Christmas used to mean laughter, flour on cheeks, a woman humming in the kitchen. Now it meant endurance. He had planned to spend the day alone. As always, perhaps ride the perimeter fence, perhaps drink more than he should, and wait for December 26 to arrive so life could return to being safely dull. That plan shattered at precisely 8:17 a.m. when a hesitant knock echoed through the enormous house. 3 soft taps, uncertain, like the hand that made them might vanish if the door opened too quickly. Elias frowned. No one came here unannounced. He didn't invite people. The staff was off for the holiday. He considered ignoring it, but something in the knock, something fragile, pulled him forward. When he opened the door, cold air rushed in, along with 2 small figures bundled in mismatched coats, scarves too big for their necks, boots dusted white. Twin girls stood on his porch, no more than 8 years old, identical down to the wide brown eyes and wind-reddened cheeks, though one wore a faded pink hat, and the other a blue one with a loose pom-pom hanging like it might fall at any second. They looked up at him, not with fear, but with careful hope. For a moment, none of them spoke. Then the girl in the pink hat held out an old smartphone with a cracked screen, gripping it with both hands as if it were something sacred. Her voice trembled but did not break. "Mister, can you send this? It's for Santa." Elias blinked, completely unprepared for the words, for the sight of them, for the sudden ache that spread through his chest like a reopened wound. He looked past them, scanning the road, expecting a parent, a car, an explanation. There was nothing, just white fields and quiet sky. "Where are your parents?" he asked, his voice rough from disuse. The second girl, blue hat, answered softly, "Mama's working. She said Santa listens better if the message comes from a big phone. Yours looks big." It was absurd. It was heartbreaking. It was Christmas. Elias hesitated only a second longer before stepping aside. "You'd better come in," he said. "It's freezing." The girls exchanged a glance, relief flickering across their faces, and stepped into a world they had never imagined. Marble floors, high ceilings, warmth that wrapped around them like a blanket. Elias closed the door, unaware that in doing so, he had just reopened a part of himself he had sealed away for nearly a decade. He led them into the living room, where the fire crackled quietly, and gestured for them to sit. They perched on the edge of the sofa, still clutching the phone. "What's your names?" he asked. "I'm Lily," said Pinky. "Hat." "I'm Lucy," said Blue. "Hat." "We're twins." Elias nodded slowly, his throat tight. "I can see that." He took the phone gently, noticing the shattered corner, the battery warning blinking angrily. "So, what is it you want to send Santa?" Lily looked down at her boots. Lucy answered, her voice steadier. "It's not a list. We already sent that." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Then what is it?" Lily finally looked up, her eyes too old for her face. "It's a voice message. We recorded it last night. We just want him to hear it." Elias pressed play before he could stop himself. The recording crackled, then their voices filled the room, smaller and shakier than in person. They talked about their mama working 2 jobs, about how she pretended not to be tired, about the trailer that got colder every winter because the heater was broken again. They talked about how Christmas lights made Lucy happy even when things were hard. Then Lily's voice came in, quiet and earnest. "Santa, if you can't bring us presents, that's okay. We just want Mama to smile more, and maybe not cry when she thinks we're asleep." The message ended with a long, Silence and a whispered, "Thank you." Elias stood there, phone in hand, unable to move. The room felt too small for the weight of it. He cleared his throat. That's quite a message." Lily nodded. "Can you send it?" Elias looked at the phone again, then at them. He could send it. He could hand it back. He could walk them home and forget this ever happened. Instead, something unexplainable rose up inside him, an urge that felt suspiciously like purpose. "I can send it," he said slowly. "But Santa's a busy man. Sometimes messages need help finding their way." Lucy tilted her head. "Like a helper elf?" Elias almost laughed. "Something like that." He sent the message, not to nowhere, but to himself. The moment he did, he felt as if the ranch exhaled. He handed the phone back. "There, sent," Lily smiled, a small, radiant thing that struck him harder than any business loss ever had. They stood to leave, polite and grateful, already pulling on their gloves. Elias surprised himself by saying, "Do you have anywhere warm to be right now?" Lucy answered honestly. "Home. Mama said to be back before lunch." Elias hesitated, then nodded. "I'll drive you." On the way, the girls talked about school, about how they finished each other's sentences, about how Mama promised things would get better. Elias listened, gripping the steering wheel, realizing how quiet his life had been without voices like this. When he dropped them off at the worn trailer at the edge of town, Lily paused. "Mister?" "Yes?" "Santa will hear it, right?" Elias met her gaze, something fierce in his chest. "I promise," he said. As he drove back to the ranch, the promise echoed louder than the engine. And if you're feeling that echo, too, if this story has already touched something in you, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because this is only the beginning. What happens next will change all of their lives forever, including his. The promise Elias, Crow, made on that frozen dirt road followed him back to the ranch like a shadow that refused to fade, settling into every room, every quiet corner where loneliness had once lived undisturbed. He didn't turn on the radio. He didn't pour another drink. Instead, he sat at his desk long after the sun climbed higher, replaying the girl's message again and again, each word carving something new into him. He had built his life on control, on numbers, contracts, certainty, but none of that prepared him for the simple, devastating honesty of two children who wanted nothing for themselves except a smile from their mother. By noon, the ranch felt wrong. Too clean, too empty, like a stage waiting for actors who never arrived. Elias found himself doing something he hadn't done in years. He made a list, not of assets or liabilities, but of questions. Who was their mother? Why were they alone on Christmas morning? How many families like this lived just beyond his fences while he sat wrapped in comfort and silence? The answers began to come faster than he expected. A call to the town clerk led to a name, Maria Hale. 2 jobs. No criminal record, no handouts. A woman known for paying late but always paying. Elias stared at the file longer than necessary, then closed it as if afraid of what opening it fully might mean. By mid-afternoon, snow began to fall again. Soft and steady, and with it came a knock, this time at his heart. He packed a box from the pantry, then another, filling them with food, blankets, a space heater he'd never bothered to install in one of the guest houses. He wrapped 2 small boxes, too, unsure why his hands shook as he tied the ribbon. He told himself this was charity, obligation, nothing more. But when he drove back toward the edge of town, the truth sat beside him in the passenger seat. Uninvited and undeniable, he was afraid. Afraid of hope. Afraid of caring. Afraid that opening this door would let pain rush back in with the same force it had left. When he reached the trailer, dusk had settled and the windows glowed faintly. Maria Hale opened the door with surprise etched across her tired face. Surprise quickly hardening into caution when she saw who stood there. Elias spoke before she could. He explained awkwardly, imperfectly about the girls. The message, the cold. He expected pride, maybe anger. What he didn't expect was the way Maria's shoulders sagged, as if someone had finally acknowledged the weight she carried every day alone. The twins appeared behind her, eyes wide, then bright. "Santa's helper," Lucy whispered. Elias swallowed. Inside, the trailer was small but clean, the heater struggling bravely against the cold. They shared coffee, then soup, then silence that felt warmer than conversation. Maria tried to refuse the boxes. Elias insisted, his voice firmer than he felt. "It's Christmas," he said simply. "Let it be that." When he finally left, the girls hugged him without asking, their arms thin but fierce, and something inside him broke open completely. Days passed, then weeks. Elias found reasons to return: repairs, groceries, rides to school when Maria's car failed again. He told himself it was temporary. It never was. The ranch began to change, too. Laughter echoed where echoes had once died alone. The girls painted the old barn door one afternoon, red and uneven, and Elias didn't stop them. On New Year's Eve, he watched fireworks from the porch with 3 people who somehow felt like family, without ever being named as such. And late that night, alone again, Elias played the voice message one last time, then deleted it, not because it no longer mattered, but because it had already done its work. Christmas had given him back something money never could: connection, purpose, a future that didn't feel empty. And if this journey from loneliness to love, from silence to second chances, has moved you even a little, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel, because stories like this remind us that miracles don't always arrive wrapped in gold. They sometimes knock softly on the door, holding a cracked phone and a fragile hope, waiting for someone brave enough to answer.